Hello, everyone. Craig D'Amico with Ron Ratner here on NEC Front Row. It's the greatest time of the year. It's tournament time in the Northeast Conference. The grueling 4-month-long regular season of men's college basketball has come to an end, Ron, and now here we are. The top 8 teams have been seeded, selected, paired up, and we're ready for the quarterfinals to start on Wednesday.
Yeah, the most wonderful time of the year. It really is. March Madness is where it's at, and in a league like ours where it's all about who that champion is after 3 games in March. What's better than this? It's great for our fans. It's great for our teams. Let's get it going.
They're all battling for this baby right here. Let's talk about some of the quarterfinal matchups. We start with Robert Morris, the top seed in the tournament, #1 for the 4th time in 6 years, and they're taking on a St. Francis Brooklyn team that had high expectations at the beginning of the season and were in danger of not making it, but they put it together late to clinch the 8th seed.
Yeah, I think it's an intriguing matchup. I've been saying for the last couple of weeks that if St. Francis Brooklyn makes this tournament, they're a tough out. That is an experienced team. They have a front line that is one of the tops in the league. And you look at Robert Morris, on the other hand, if you saw them on TV on Saturday, they looked every bit the #1 seed. So they're coming in red hot. I think you have a St. Francis team that's going to have some confidence to go into Robert Morris. They've already beaten him once this year. In fact, they've beat him 3 out of the last 4 times they've played. So when was the last time we had a 1 seed lose to an 8 seed? It's never happened. Could this be the year? Maybe. I mean, you certainly got to think they have a puncher's chance of doing it. But Robert Morris they were the best team in the regular season, and they showed it over the past week. They won a ridiculously tough game out in a crazed fan situation at Bryant. It was a packed house, and then they took care of business on Saturday. So. I think it's an intriguing matchup.
The only time an 8 beat a 1, it was in the women's bracket where you had St. Francis Brooklyn upset LIU Brooklyn back in 2007. So now the men's team is looking to pull that 8 upset. And now, how about the job that Andrew Toole has done with Robert Morris? They're in the top spot again. We talked about it. They have built such a tradition over just the last couple of years, Toole taking over for Mike Rice, who started it. Talk a little bit about the job that Robert Morris has done over just the last handful of seasons in the NEC.
Yeah, I mean, look, they've won 20-plus games in 5 out of the last 6 seasons. That's never been done before in the NEC. We've talked about it from week to week on the podcast that Robert Morris, the consistency they've shown is really incredible. Really, it started about a decade ago, and then they made their rise, and then when Mike Rice arrived, they became a championship-level team. And Andy Toole has really kept them there and is keeping the program moving forward. They're a team that's tough. They win on the road. They won't have to in this tournament, but they're a battle-tested team. They have veterans, and they're the favorite, and deservedly so. And all roads go through Moon Township as long as they stay alive.
And home court matters in the NEC tournament.
Yeah. I mean, that was one of the big battles. As we're going to look at the other quarterfinals. Who is going to get in the top 4? Who is going to get in the top 2? So you can get a semifinal game. And who's going to be the regular season champ and potentially have ESPN come to their house on March 12th?
Now, right after Robert Morris, we had a kind of a logjam in the standings. A bunch of teams finished tied, and Wagner comes out of it with the 2 seed, and they get set to welcome in Central Connecticut. It wouldn't be the NEC tournament without Central Connecticut State. They're back in there again, I believe, for the 15th straight year, and I think this is going to be a very intriguing defensive battle. Central has some scores, but Wagner's one of the better defensive teams in the league.
Yeah, I think Wagner's going to try to slow him down. I mean, Central really, despite the fact that they're not deep, they really push the pace each game. And they should, because they have players that can play that style. I think Wagner, they'll want to slow it down. The Wagner is a much deeper team, but Central Connecticut have some talented players. We all know Kyle Vinales is the leading scorer in the conference. His buddy Matt Hunter, as we say, is the stat stuffer. He does it all. And they have Brandon Peel has really come on strong as a freshman there. I think that they're a dangerous team. It's a hard to peg where this is going to go in this game. Wagner's been really playing well at home. Their last home game, they went out and played that terrific game against LIU, and they put up 94 points. So, early in the year, they were having problems getting points on the board. There were 40s and 50s. Now that they're doing it, they're trying to get healthy. I know Lateef Rivers should be ready for this game. Between him and Kenny Ortiz is playing at such a high level right now, and they're getting a nice contribution from Dwan Anderson in the backcourt. It's going to be a tough game for Central, but you never underestimate the grizzled veteran of Howie Dickerman come NEC tournament time, and I think we're probably in for a good one.
Moving on now to the 3-6 matchup. It's a rematch of a game that just took place last weekend during the final weekend of the regular season. You have LIU Brooklyn, the two-time reigning champions in this tournament, don't forget, taking on a Quinnipiac team, and this is another one of those intriguing quarterfinal matchups.
Yeah, these teams, they're dance partners, it seems, every year. This will be the fourth time in 5 years they've played each other. What I expect out of this is some points. We saw them play on Saturday, the final score. Now, you had the number 2 seed on the line for Quinnipiac and the ability to host a game for LIU. LIU came from behind in the second half, 96-90. A lot of points there. They played last year in Brooklyn in the semifinals. I believe it was 77 or 78-75. They had played up around 100-90 in the regular season. So I think this is going to be up and down. We know about LIU. We know about Jamal Osweir and Jason Brickman and CJ Garner. They're all playing at a very high level going into the postseason. It took them a while to figure things out, I think, when Julian Boyd went down. And they're tough on their home court. They rarely ever lose at the rack. But on the other hand, now you have Quinnipiac, a team that their front court maybe, it could potentially, arguably, might be the best in the conference. They haven't been out-rebounded in a single game this year, and they just attack the glass. But the key to Quinnipiac, I think, at this point is the contributions they're getting from their guards. And I think they struggled a bit earlier in the year. But now, if you saw the way they were shooting at the rack on Saturday, it's not an issue anymore. Evan Conti, one of the most improved players in the league. Zaid Hurst can really stroke it. And, if they get some offense out of Dave Johnson, their floor general, now you're looking at a 50-50 game there, and I think that I think the fans are in for a barn burner. I
want to go back and touch on something you said. You mentioned how Boyd went down earlier in the year, and usually when a lot of times when a player of the year goes down, a lot of teams throw their arm like, what are we going to do now? But you mentioned it. They've had a lot of players step up. Osweir has become the next player of the year in line for LIU Brooklyn, and they've had a lot of guys really step up and carry the load to get them to the 3 seed.
Yeah, they were looking. I talked to Jack Perry. We interviewed him for our podcast, and I said, were you reinventing yourself, or was it just some adjustments? And I think he pretty much said we needed to make some adjustments and figure out who we were going to be without Julian. But you still have your Osweirs and your Garners and your Brandon Thompsons, guys that have won championships, and then you throw E.J. Reed in, one of the top rookies in the conference, who's really settled into a role where he's getting 20, 25, 30 minutes a game, and I think he's their star of the future. They're still dangerous, and despite the fact that the player of the year is not there, there's still enough talent for them to make a run for that third title.
And how about the 4-5 matchup that we have? This should be exciting. You have Bryant, the amazing bounce-back, resurgent season that they've had, and now going up against Mount St. Mary's, a team that likes to play that havoc defense. This should be another fun one to watch.
Yeah, I think this could be the game of if you're a fan and you're tuning in on NEC Front Row, you got to have this one front and center. They played 2 great games this year. The first one up at Bryant, and this is when Mount even wasn't playing all that well. Went to overtime, 79-78 game. The Bryant they squeaked by in overtime. Then when Bryant came down to the Mount, Mount was just, on fire, shooting. They had 16 or 17 threes in that game. That was Sam Prescott's 44-point game on Valentine's Day. So I think that nobody's playing better than Mount St. Mary's right now. You could say that neither of these teams are playoff tested. So you're sort of in that novice category. You have a first-year head coach in Jamie and Christian at the Mount. Now you have a veteran head coach at Bryant, but they've not been through this process. This is their first year of postseason eligibility. So I think you're going to see a lot of points on the board. I think the fans are going to be really into it, as they've been the last half of the season there. And we'll see whose shots are falling, and that could determine who moves on to the semis.
And how about that atmosphere at Bryant? We saw it for that game against Robert Morris that's decided the regular season championship. They've been having some empty gyms over the last couple of years, but now they're turning people away for fire code violations.
Yeah, you start. I've always said when you win, the fans will find you. Not only are they coming, but they're acting like real college basketball fans. And the fact that you saw that they were tweeting out pictures 45 minutes ahead of time of lines going around the building, they're really into it, and deservedly so. They've been one of the top teams in the conference. They started out non-conference by picking up some big wins, and they came into the league like a house of fire. And while they cooled off a bit, they were a point or two away from going into Saturday with a chance to win the conference. That's how close it was from 1-4, actually 1-6 was so tight this year. The Bryant fans have been fantastic. I hope they fill the place up. And, it's the tournament. We need a great atmosphere there.
And that'll do it. We hope you're excited as we are. The NEC tournament, the quarterfinals get started on Wednesday. The semifinals will be then on Saturday. Check your local listings. Both games will be televised. And then, of course, the championship game Tuesday night, the 12th, on ESPN2. Should make for a great tournament, Ron.
Yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait to get out there on Wednesday. Let's get this going.
All right. Tournament begins Wednesday night. For Ron Ratner, I'm Craig D'Amico. This is NEC Front Row.